Have you ever found yourself hearing a persistent rumor about a public figure? Something that just seems to hang in the air, and you wonder how much of it is actually true.
Yeah, it happens all the time, especially with really high-profile people.
Exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, these persistent rumors and allegations surrounding Donald Trump and drug addiction.
Right. It's a topic that comes up a lot.
It really does. And our goal here isn't to add to the noise, but to, cut through the speculation. We want to look at the documented facts, separate reality from the claims.
Using the sources available to give a factual, balanced look. No sensationalism, just what's out there.
Precisely. We'll touch on his medical history or what's known of it, some pretty wild allegations, alleged past prescriptions.
And also that family tragedy, which seems really significant.
Definitely. And even how this all might connect to his policies on addiction when he was president. Okay, let's unpack this.
So starting point. Whenever you look at someone like Trump, you have to ask, what's the official record? What do we know for sure?
Right. The baseline.
And the baseline here is, well, pretty clear. Across decades in the public eye, he's never publicly admitted to drug addiction, never been diagnosed, as far as any public record shows.
Okay, so no public record of, say, rehab stints or hospitalizations for addiction.
Correct. And no legal charges related to controlled substances, nothing like that.
No confirmed medical records showing dependency either. So on paper, it looks clean.
It does. Which sets the stage, really. That's the verified reality we measure all the rumors against.
But, the rumors are there. Decades of them. So how do we square that? Does the lack of evidence mean anything definitive?
Well, you can't prove a negative, right? But the complete absence of any verifiable evidence, despite intense, decades-long scrutiny, that's significant. It strongly suggests the rumors are, well, just rumors. It shifts the question, maybe, from is it true to why do these specific claims keep circulating without proof?
That's a really good point. Okay, so let's talk about some of those specific rumors, especially the ones that really blew up during his presidency.
Right, that's when things got intense. Probably the most widely circulated one came from Noel Casler. Remember him? Former staffer on The Apprentice.
Vaguely, yeah. What was his specific claim?
He alleged that Trump used to crush and snort Adderall on set, supposedly to stay focused.
Adderall, wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's specific.
Very specific. He even linked it to alleged issues with incontinence. Really sensational stuff.
Definitely sensational. But was there any, backup to this? Any proof?
That's the crucial part. Despite how specific and shocking it sounds, no. Never substantiated. No direct evidence, no corroboration from credible investigative reporting, nothing solid.
So just one person's claim, basically.
Essentially. Then there was the other thing people latched on, the sniffing during the debates, 2016-2020.
Oh, yeah, the Sniffles. I remember that being everywhere. People were definitely talking.
They were, and speculating. Some public figures, I think Howard Dean was one, a former governor and a physician.
Right, he chimed in.
Yeah, he speculated publicly about possible stimulant use based on that.
Which just shows, a simple sniffle under that spotlight.
Exactly. It gets magnified. The White House, of course, dismissed it all. And medical experts pointed out, hey, it could be allergies.
Or sinus issues, or just nerves. Debates or high pressure.
Totally plausible explanations.
Yeah.
It's a classic example of how easily an observable behavior, especially from someone like Trump, gets misinterpreted or spun into these huge assumptions.
Especially when people are already looking for something. Okay, so that covers the presidency stuff. What about earlier? Were there any claims about, past use from way back?
There's one specific thing that comes up in the sources. It's from Michael D'Antonio's book, The Truth About Trump.
Okay, what does that book say?
It mentions Trump being prescribed a diet drug back in the 80s, something called tenuate-dospan. The generic name is diethylpropion.
Tenuate-dospan.
Diethylpropion. And what is that exactly?
It's a stimulant.
Yeah.
Chemically similar to amphetamines, yeah. It was used, and sometimes still is, for short-term weight loss. Ah, okay. A stimulant prescribed for weight loss. That sounds potentially significant, given the context.
It does, but here's the key distinction the sources make. It was apparently a legal prescription.
Right, from a doctor, for a specific purpose.
Exactly. It implies medical oversight. While some sources might suggest he used it for a while, there's absolutely no evidence presented that he became addicted or, crucially, that he used it illicitly outside of that prescription.
So it's a case of a legitimate medical detail potentially being sort of pulled into the broader speculation.
That's what it looks like. It really highlights the difference between taking a prescribed medication, even a stimulant, under a doctor's care, and, illicit drug use or actual addiction. Context is everything.
Definitely. Now, beyond these allegations and prescriptions, there's a really personal angle to this whole topic for Trump, isn't there? Something involving his family.
Absolutely. And it seems central to his own stated views. His older brother, Fred Trump Jr., tragically died back in 1981.
And that was related to alcohol, right?
Yes, from complications of alcoholism. And by all accounts, Donald Trump was deeply affected by it. It profoundly shaped his lifelong stance against both drugs and alcohol.
That makes sense. Losing a sibling that way, that would leave a
For
mark.
sure. Trump himself has talked about it quite a bit over the years. There's a quote where he says something like, "I watched what alcohol did to my brother. He was a great guy, but he got into drinking, and it just took over his life."
Wow. That's pretty direct.
Very. And as a result, he's consistently claimed to be straight edge, his words, meaning he says he's never had a drink, never smoked, never used drugs.
So he connects his personal abstinence directly to that family tragedy.
Explicitly, it's a powerful example of how personal loss can forge really deeply held beliefs and, well, lifestyle choices.
And you have to assume that personal history influenced his public actions too, right? Like when he was president, he focused quite a bit on the opioid crisis.
He definitely made it a major policy priority, yes.
How did that translate into, like, actual policy? What did they do?
Well, he declared the opioid epidemic a national public health emergency. That was a big step. They launched campaigns targeting fentanyl trafficking, particularly from China and Mexico.
So a strong focus on supply and law enforcement.
That was certainly a big part of it. Advocating for tougher law enforcement was key. But to be fair, the administration also supported treatment and recovery programs. It wasn't solely punitive.
Okay, so a bit of both. Though I remember the critique was often that it leaned more heavily on the criminal justice side.
That was common criticism, yes.
Yeah.
That maybe it didn't prioritize public health enough. It's always a tough balance with something like the opioid crisis, Connecting personal history to public policy is complex.
No easy answers there. So if we step back and look at what, say, medical professionals or other public records indicate overall.
Well, the general take from medical experts cited in sources is that while Trump's behavior can certainly be seen as erratic or impulsive or aggressive at times.
Which fuels some of the speculation, presumably.
Exactly. But those traits, in themselves, don't automatically equate to drug use. There can be many reasons for behavior.
And what about known medications? Anything else besides that old diet drug mentioned?
There was a New York Times piece back in 2018, I think. It mentioned his known prescriptions at the time.
Okay, what were they?
Finasteride, which is for hair loss, Propecia, and rosuvastatin, which is a common cholesterol medication, Krista.
Right. And neither of those are?
Nope. Neither finasteride nor rosuvastatin are addictive substances or stimulants or anything related to the rumors.
Okay. So when you put all these pieces together, the lack of official records, the unsubstantiated nature of the big claims, the context of the old prescription, his family history, his known current meds, what's the bottom line?
The bottom line, based purely on the available public evidence and the sources we've looked at, is that there's just no proof Donald Trump suffers from drug addiction.
Despite all the noise.
Despite all the noise. In fact, the bulk of the evidence, including his own stated reasons rooted in that family tragedy, points towards him actively avoiding alcohol and drugs. The speculation persists, but the facts don't support it.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean? Our deep dive, looking at the documented facts, it pretty clearly shows that, despite years of these accusations, these rumors, there really isn't any public proof that Donald Trump has a drug addiction.
Right. The evidence we've gone through actually points more towards him avoiding alcohol and drugs, partly, as we said, because of that really difficult family loss.
It leaves you with a question, though, doesn't it? In this age we live in, constant information, instant speculation, how do you personally evaluate claims about public figures? Especially when the evidence is thin or maybe even contradictory.
Yeah, what's our responsibility is just inform people trying to figure things out. How do we separate solid fact from just unverified rumor that feels like it's everywhere?
Something to think about.